Hey, welcome developer community, and thank you for joining me today on my first episode ever of DMP in 3. Today we're going to discuss RxJS, that's reactive extensions for JavaScript, but more specifically the Debounce operator. But before we dive into that, we need to identify a scenario that we're trying to avoid. The scenario is that we have a simple website with a huge listing of data. We need to implement a filter feature for the end user. As the user enters a filter, the problem then becomes, with each character that they input, we immediately try to filter the list. But as you can imagine, user input speed varies. We're going to solve this problem with RxJS to avoid performance implications. The example application that I wrote relied on Angular 6, CLI, and material design. With that, we're going to take a look at the markup. Within the HTML, we can see that we have a simple input element, and we're binding to a keyUp event. Now, we're going to invoke the onFilterApplied event handler, passing in the value of our target element. We're going to switch gears and take a look at our Angular component. You can think of this similar to being like code behind from our markup. So within TypeScript, this class has a filter updated subject. Subjects and reactive extensions are basically observables and observers. So we can invoke next and pass in a string, but we can also treat it as an observable. So we can say filter updated as observable and then pipe over to a debounce time. Now this basically means within 350 milliseconds, if we do not receive any new inputs, we will then be able to assign our local filter value. If you recall from our markup, we were looking at the onFilterApplied event handler, and we were given the value from our element. Now what we're doing is we're taking that value, which is we're calling a filter, and we're passing it into our subject. From the reactivex.io website, we can see that the debounce operator only emits an item from an observable after a particular time span has passed. So regardless of the stream of input, we're only emitting a value after a certain amount of time. And there you have it. Leveraging RxJS and the debounce operator, we were able to prevent any performance implications by waiting until all of the input from the user was entered before taking any action.